Thank you and welcome for joining us in yet another Premier TEFL webinar where we take a look at where TEFL can take me. And today we're looking at South America. Now I'm joined with some very special guests that I'll introduce you to now. And collectively we're going to share stories and we're going to talk about the opportunities that are open in different ways where you can teach English in a range of different countries in South America. My name is Rosie Mansfield and I'm the Managing Director of Premier TEFL, and I'm here 15 years talking about TEFL and I never get bored of it because it is such a varied lifestyle, it's such a varied opportunity, and I'm still springing out of bed every day, excited to talk to people about what their plans are next. So I'm going to go around my screen here and I'm going to introduce you to my guests and get them to say hello. And then we might start with Luke because I've spent a lot of time talking with Luke in webinars and he's a great chatter. So Arturo, you're first on my screen. If you would like to unmute yourself and just introduce yourself, what your role is and where you're currently based.
What's up, my people? How you doing? I am Arturo Canchon. I am an academic coordinator now in our school. I'm here. I'm talking to you from Colombia, the amazing Colombia, that hopefully you're gonna visit. It's an amazing place. And what else should I say? I forgot.
That's fine. That's fine. So Arturo is in the academic team in our partner school in Colombia, and very energetic and loves to help new teachers to cut their teeth and to learn all the things when you're first new out on teaching placement. Thanks, Arturo. And Lucy, over to you. You're next on my screen. Little introduction to your background and where you've taught before. Actually, sorry, I must remind you to unmute yourself.
Typical error. Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Lucy. I'm part of the assessment team. I'm an assessor on the level 5 course. And I'm really happy to be here today and tell people about how much I love South America, and especially about Ecuador, which is where one of the countries I've taught in before. So I've taught in other countries as well, across Europe, for example, and the UK, Central Europe, Eastern Europe, and so on. But Ecuador is where I first taught. I was there for 14 months, and it was an absolutely amazing experience. I also had a lot of experience traveling around the country as well, and also traveling to other countries in South America. So I'm really happy to be here today to tell you about my experiences.
Thanks, Lucy. We'll definitely be picking your brain on a lot of things. Luke, you're next on my screen. Give a little introduction for people who don't know you, and I think a lot of people might know you between our drop-in Zoom sessions and past webinars.
Yes, I can recognize some of the names. Thank you, Rosie, and hi, everyone. Some of you might know me. If you don't, my name is Luke, and I'm one of the academic assessors here at Premier TEFL, just like Lucy. Similar to Lucy, I'm very happy to be here today to talk to you about my experience in South America, which is confined mostly to Argentina. I worked for a little over a year in Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina, and in some other spots as well, as an English teacher in schools, institutes, working at summer camps with little kids as young as 2, 3, and with people in their 60s and 70s. I'm so passionate about South America, and I really can't recommend it highly enough. And I hope that by the end of today's session, you learn a little more about the opportunities in Argentina and South America in general.
Thank you, Luke. And Alejandro, take it away. You work with Arturo, so please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rosie. So, hi everybody. As Rosie said, I work with Arturo. We work together in the same school. We are like the leaders of the school. Yeah, also I'm here in Colombia. Well, I'm more than happy to share how is working here, how is living, what you could expect. We have been working with people for abroad more than 7 years. We have had people from different countries. Well, we can tell you a little bit about their experiences, but also we can tell you what people in Colombia or in South America in general is looking for.
Perfect. Super. Okay, so we may also be joined by our partner in Argentina, where Luke also taught. They may have got the time a little bit wrong. So if I see them coming in, I will put them on the spotlight and we'll bring them in for a chat. But in the meantime, we can rely on Luke to tell us about his experience. So let's kick off, Luke, with you, and tell us a little bit about your road to teaching in Argentina. And then tell us about the style of program that you went on, because we're here today and we're going to talk about a few different opportunities. And on the Premier TEFL website, we have what we call internships, which are usually like a stepping stone for people who want an organized experience for your first time teaching abroad. But that's not always necessary, and it's not always what people want. So we're going to share these experiences today, but also if that's not for you, we want to be able to give you some guidance on what would be your stepping stone to teaching in some of these countries if an internship wasn't necessary, wasn't suitable. So give us the intro, look to how you discovered the program in Argentina, and how that experience unfolded for you.
Happily. So it started when I decided to study Spanish at college. I'd always wanted to learn Spanish, and I became a teacher as a language learner. I started off as a learner and then became a teacher. But as part of my studies, I had to work abroad for about 6 months, and I decided here is the perfect opportunity to get TEFL certified and live and work in South America. So I worked with a company that had a partnership with our university, and I believe they're the same company that Rosie was referring to. And I went with them and worked at their campsite in Buenos Aires. It's not really a school. It was like a summer camp, an English immersion camp was what they called it. And my job was a coordinator and a counselor at the camp. So I had to organize themes, activities that kids would do, adults would do. And it was a 100% immersion experience. So we would organize 3 to 5 day long camps, and participants would speak English the entire time and learn about the cultures of English speaking countries. So I had a very strong cultural element to it. So that was my first experience. And while I was in Argentina, I connected with some schools on the ground. That's typically, in my experience at least, the way to go in South America. You really need to establish those connections while you're there. So I worked in a few schools in Buenos Aires city center. I worked in a small language institute about 5 hours away, in big schools, small schools, hopping from school to school as part of my work abroad experience. So that was how I got into it. And I actually returned about 3 years later and worked with the same company again because I loved it so much. And I returned to some of the schools as well. I had that network already established. And that, in a nutshell, is my story of teaching in South America, in Argentina.
And would you say it's fair to say that you used the program as a jumping off point, as a springboard to be able to go to an organized program in Argentina and then felt confident to move on?
Absolutely. And I think it's a fantastic way to get into TEFL if you're new to the industry, because you get that experience, but you have the support of experienced people as well. And once you have that initial experience behind your belt, you're much more confident going out on your own. And I would definitely agree with that, Rosie.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when people look at internship programs, we have a broad spectrum on the Premier TEFL website. Some of them have a very high salary, and then typically in South America, there's what is perceived as a lower salary. Now, certainly for the program in Argentina, it's more like a pocket money because it's a summer camp and you can do that program for as little as 3 months. But I think what it offers people more than the teaching practice and the teaching experience is the chance to get acclimatized on the ground in a country where, you know, it's not typically as simple maybe to go to as mainland Europe. You know, you're traveling quite a distance, and you probably won't have the same network available. So how was it that you met other schools then? What's the insight there? Did you knock on doors because you were there? How did you become introduced to these other employers?
I did a bit of everything, actually. So I was living with host families initially to really bring up my Spanish, and they introduced me to schools in their communities and their neighborhoods. And it was really through word of mouth that I got my foot in the door. It wasn't a case of I looked for jobs online, applying for schools, and met them that way. So as Rosie alluded to, it was that initial acclimatizing to it and getting to know people on the ground that really opened the door for me. But Argentina and probably South America in general is very like that. You're received very welcome, with very warm, you know, open arms, and you do find your place once you're out there. So yeah, that was definitely how I went about doing it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We'll come back to you now, Luke, in a while, because you didn't stop there. You went on, and I think it's lovely for people to see sort of a progression of where somebody took as a jumping off point into TEFL, and then fast forward a number of years and let's see where they are now. So we'll come back to you on that in a while. Alejandro, tell us a little bit about your school in Colombia. And tell us a little bit about your mission and what you're trying to achieve out there.
All right, thank you for the chance of speaking. So basically, well, more than school, we have like an English program, right? What it does is like try to cover the English problem that we have in the country, because I mean, only 9% of the whole population can speak English, which is a very low number if we compare it with other countries. I mean, in South America is not high anyway, but still we are like in the last positions. So what we're trying to do is like we want to increase these numbers. And we really like to do it with people from abroad, because Colombia is a country, and I would say, you know, South America is a very welcoming continent, which is open to see different cultures and to learn with people from other countries. As I said before, we're we're not only at a school, we're more than that. We're a program. So we have our school, right? And it's located in a small city here in Colombia. But also part of that, we do projects with some small towns, or with some, how you call it, city halls, right? And what we do is that we go there and we give classes in rural areas, which make it even more, it makes like a bigger impact, because you are going to be with farmers and with people who live in some isolated areas, but still are very safe. So in few words, what we're trying to do is we want to democratize the English learning, because as I said before, only 9% of the population can speak English, but almost everybody from this 9% is from the high social classes. So we focus on trying to teach like people from low incomes or middle class, and that's our focus.
Super. And the types of applicants that you would like to come, because you're offering a 6-month program through Premier TEFL, where typically first-time or newly qualified TEFL teachers can come and gain some experience and then get an authentic Colombian experience as well. So it's a holistic thing. You do get your teaching experience, You get to live with host family, similar to what Luke had mentioned. So tell us a little bit about the type of applicants that you're looking for to come to help with your program.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, I'm gonna pass this question to Arturo because he's focused on that part and he's the person who participates in the selection process. So please, Arturo, go on.
Okay. So, well, here in Colombia, I mean, we're looking for people with different skills, yes, because here, I don't know if it's because of culture, we learn in a different way. For example, one of the things that we have realized is that here in Latin America, the two skills that we struggle the most is speaking and listening, yes? So, for example, we need people that is very talkative, yes, that they speak even when they are like this, yes? Because we have to engage and we have to be like, also like salesman, yes? People that sell the class, yes, that have a lot of imagination for creating stories, for creating activities, yes, for the classes, yes. And because also, especially in our school, we love to teach through experiences, through activities, yes. Not like the old school way, but for example, hey guys, today we're gonna create a restaurant, yes. So you have to make a poster and you have to do everything. So we want people like are like kind of a clown. It's not a clown like they make fun of them, but so somebody that is so amusing that is difficult to fall from the train of teaching. Yes, I mean that they keep the people engaged. So also we look for people that is really supportive because I don't know if it's because of our educational system. Some people have some traumas with English. Yes, they think that English is difficult, it's impossible, it's not for them. So we need to encourage them. So, hey, come on, guys, you can do it, just be patient, and you'll do it. Yes. We are looking also for people that is not afraid of making fun of themselves. Yes, because also we have an experience with a teacher. She passed the interview with us. Everything was good. But later, I don't know what happened. She got like a stage fright, would be like she like froze. She even in the first class she couldn't say a word, so it was really curious because she had a good profile, yes, but she wasn't confident enough to be in front of people, yes. So also we need people that is sure of their abilities, yes, sure that they can make it, yes, and also we are very concerned that for example, Alejandro and me, we are also teachers, yes. So we also want to give like a help as much as we can to the new teachers because we know how difficult it is to be a teacher for the first time. Yeah, so we don't want to like, hey, this is your class, go ahead with no experience, yes, and try to learn how to swim without even a swimming class, yes. So the idea that also we help you is to have a good experience here. And we have had some really good results with our selection process would be the name, because we have had some people that have been work with us that had been amazing. I mean, the experience for them, for us, for our students has been amazing. Some of them they didn't want to leave. A couple of German guys, they didn't want to leave because they just left because they have to begin the university. Otherwise, they would be here. Yes. So it has been an amazing experience for them, for us. And also we want to keep it that way. So we want people that is like really energetic, like crazy people, like passionate for teaching and for sharing with these guys. I mean, at the beginning, maybe you will hate them because they are a little crazy, but at the end, you're gonna love them.
And in terms of like, because the program is set up that it's homestay of the local family, it's more suited to people probably early 20s up to about the age of 30 or so. That's typically what you find in the past, is that that's the kind of profile of applicant that's most suited to this type of program.
Oliver,
you can go.
Yeah.
You can. Okay. Well, what I can say, So talking about ages, right? So we don't really have like a specific range of age. However, we have seen like people who adapt easier are people between 20 and 30. I'm not saying that someone who is 50 cannot do it. I'm pretty sure if people are have this passion and have the interest, you're gonna do it. Something that I would say is important is like Colombia, and I would say maybe Lucy can say that Colombia and Ecuador are completely different from Europe. I mean, Argentina too, but Argentina is a little bit more European than Ecuador and Colombia, definitely. Colombia and Ecuador are completely different. I'm not saying that it's better or worse. No, I'm just saying that it's different. And at the beginning, I think could be a little bit shocking. So we have noticed that people who are between 20 and 30, they get adapted easier because of this difference. Each of the culture, the way we are, the way we plan, the way things go on here. So yeah. And regarding the host families, well, families are happy to have people from different ages, so it doesn't really, it's not really like a kind of problem. But yeah, something important to highlight is like, yeah, we are different. For some people, it may be shocking, but if you are the kind of person who is open-minded, who want to have different experience, who want to meet new people, okay, I think this continent is the right place.
And I think the beautiful thing about South America is that it is so open and the opportunities are vast. Particularly, there is not the same emphasis on people being native English speakers, and there's not the same emphasis on you must have a bachelor's degree. And I think that that's where the opportunities are really broad, is that we know that to be a good English teacher, it is not hinged on whether you've studied a degree or whether you were born with English being your first language. And so I suppose these are some of the things that I want to highlight about South America, is that it's very varied, it's very different. There's a ton of different types of opportunities, whether it's summer camps, homestay, sort of initiatives with local programs, whether it's on the oil rigs off the coast of Ecuador. I've sent people there before. There's just a ton of opportunities, and this is what we really want to highlight, is it's open for people with lots of different backgrounds, and it's also open for a ton of different types of teaching jobs, not just standard school positions. So with that in mind, let's go to Lucy now and hear what her experience was, what took her to Ecuador, and then I can see a couple of questions in the chat box, so I will get to those next. And so do feel free to put your questions in if you've got something on your mind. We'll try and answer them. If we can't answer it today, we will come back to you. But I think Alejandro and Arturo, it's great to get across, because our website has to be standardized in a certain way, and so we put the requirements up there for our programs. But this kind of event is a fantastic opportunity to show that, yeah, it's more geared for people between 20 and 30, but if you don't mind living with a host family and you're energetic and you're outgoing, then talk to us, you know, and let's see whether this is a great springboard for you to get to South America. So Lucy, let's come to you. Tell us about your journey over to Ecuador, how it came to you, how you went out there. Did you go alone? Give us all the lowdown.
Okay, so after my teacher training course, or even before it had finished, you know, I was applying for jobs, and Ecuador was actually the second job I applied for. And I actually got a response within like a day or so. And then I was having a phone interview, and then a couple of weeks later, I was on the plane. So I went out there by myself. I was teaching in the port city of Guayaquil, which at the time was the biggest city in Ecuador, though I believe now the capital Quito has now kind of overtaken it as the biggest city. And I had been to South America before, but that was prior to becoming a teacher. So it was my first teaching experience. I mean, I had a little bit of volunteering experience within the UK, but as an actual qualified teacher, this was my first ever experience. So I was on the plane by myself from the UK, and it was just, I mean, it's very different, as Alejandro has mentioned. It's really different, but it's, as long as you've got a sense of adventure and you're prepared for it not being the same as your home country, then you can have an absolutely amazing experience. You remain open-minded about what you might find there, and don't expect things to be the same way as they are in your home country, because they won't be. Yeah, I was teaching at a language school, mostly adults. I'd say around 99%, 16 plus, and mostly kind of adults in their 20s, maybe early 30s. And I had some absolutely lovely students. They were so lovely, really, really nice. I had so many experiences, which I absolutely treasure to this day. And it was just wonderful. And so that's how I got there. And I was there for 14 months. And I managed to fit in quite a bit of traveling while I was at it, because with a public holiday, kind of long weekends, like there was Carnival in February, I believe, and after I finished my contract as well, I traveled around a bit just within Ecuador. And I wished I could have stayed out there a lot longer, just because as I mentioned before, like a couple of years before that, I'd been to other countries in South America, and I really wished I could have stayed for so much longer, and I really want to come back.
Yeah, I mean, it's written all over your face. You fell in love with it. Did you know, couple of quick fire questions, did you know that you would spend 14 months there? How long was your initial contract?
So there was a 3-month probationary period, and then it was a year, or almost a year, very close to a year after that. It was either 2 or 3 months probation. I forget exactly how long. But then I left in July because although I absolutely loved South America, I also wanted to get a bit of experience of teaching in another kind of very different culture as well. Plus I'd been proposed to in Ecuador, so my other half's back in the UK, so we had to kind of start planning the wedding and so on. So I thought, let's go for my next teaching destination, be somewhere a little bit closer to home, make things a bit easier. And I'd been advised that it was a good idea to go back around July time, have a bit of time at home, and then ready to start my new job at the beginning of the academic year in September. So that's why I left when I did.
And did you was it important to you to secure a job from the UK before you went to South America? And did you find that easy, or was it tricky?
To be honest with you, for some reason, I mean, it didn't actually cross my mind to just go out there and then look on the ground, even though, as I think Luke mentioned, it can be a good idea to do. It didn't actually cross my mind to do that. So I always thought, I'll just start applying for jobs before I leave and make sure I've got something secured beforehand.
Yeah, I think that is a natural instinct in us all. And I think that typically, if we're speaking in generalized terms, then you can almost guarantee that you'll have your job lined up for Europe or for Asia. But sometimes some of the schools in South America are a little bit more relaxed and would be a bit slower to issue contracts. And so there's, I suppose, if we're speaking typically and broadly about where you can teach English and how easy it is to get your job contract organised before you go, a lot of stories, a lot of anecdotes are out there about schools in South America saying, come and see us when you get here. Now, with websites like TEFL.com, ASLjobs.com, even the job website that we have on our own website, it's more and more easy to connect directly with schools online and to have your interview and to have contracts exchanged before you leave your home country, because it brings a lot of comfort to people to know that they're going to a specific job once they get out there. Where were some of the other places you got to travel to when you were in South America?
Well, in that particular experience, it was Ecuador, so I went all over. I went into the Andes, I was in Quito, in Cuenca, I went into the Amazon rainforest, I went further up the coast, some amazing beaches in Ecuador, even though it's not the first country you think of for beaches, but there's some really good ones there. And also I went to the Galapagos Islands as well.
Amazing.
But in a previous, before I started teaching, I was coming from New Zealand actually, so I arrived in Santiago in Chile, and then I was in Brazil for about a month, and I was in Peru, Bolivia, and then a couple of years after my teaching experience in Ecuador, I went back to South America for my honeymoon. I was in Buenos Aires and Uruguay, so I've been to most places except Colombia actually, but that's next on my list. Yes, yeah. I'm desperate to go to Colombia.
So folks, we really do have an expert here in the whole continent. So if you've got questions, now is the time to be putting them into the chat box. I'm going to take one quick look here and see what we have in this in the chat and see if I can answer some of the questions. Okay, Maria, you were asking about wanted to ask about the pass rate for level 5 180-hour assignments. So the way that it works is that you need to meet all of the requirements. So, which sounds like a roundabout way of saying you need to get it all right. But essentially, Lucy and Luke have a set of learning objectives that they need to be able to tick off, that you've demonstrated that you've answered. And so once you meet all those learning objectives, and the clue will be in the question for you in those written assignments, then that's how you will pass it. It isn't sort of a grade as in you need to get 60% or something like that. It's that you need to meet the learning objectives set out. If you are having any trouble with that, there's a weekly Zoom session. You've got Discord, which is the community forum, and you've also got an email address for tutor support. So there's lots of ways to get help on that. Next one we have, let's see who's saying this. I think it's Sin. I'm 27 and Indian. I have no clue how to land a CELTA or a TEFL job. What are the countries where I'd have an opportunity and how to get these opportunities? For me, is it worth traveling abroad and spending big on acquiring a CELTA certification? And what's the difference if I do it in India or abroad? So I can give you some insight in here, and then if there's anybody else who wants to chip in for this, please go ahead. So in terms of if you want to do a CELTA course, whether you do it in India or abroad, doesn't make a difference, it's the same qualification. Our own level 580-hour course is an online equivalent of the academic level of CELTA. So if you're on a budget, it's great for that. In terms of what countries are open to you, some countries in Southeast Asia you need to have a native English speaking passport to get the correct visa for the country to work as an English teacher. The same isn't true of most of Europe or most of South America. So what it comes down to then is your own education, your background experience, your accent in English, and then also having your TEFL certification. And a CELTA wouldn't be required. You know, it's a prestigious teaching award. It wouldn't be required to get started. And I mean, look, you can even say, Testament, you didn't start off from a CELTA. Tell us a little bit about how you progressed through to develop a career in TEFL.
Yes, so I started with a 120-hour course before I went out to South America. That's the minimum requirement. You certainly don't need a CELTA, in my experience, to teach in most schools in Latin America. And it wasn't until a few years later that I actually went on and completed my CELTA. So the minimum 120-hour TEFL requirement should be enough to land you a job in any country in South America.
And then just in case we don't get time to come back, because the questions are coming in now, just for the folks at home, you did your 120, then you did your CELTA. What was next for you?
After that, I went back out to Argentina, and then I completed my master's here in Ireland in language education, and I'm actually teaching English, Spanish, and German now in a school in Ireland. So it's quite a different experience, but it ultimately comes down to language teaching as well. So it was the experience in TEFL initially that enabled me to pursue that path, and I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, I do use you as a lovely example a lot of the times, you know, but it doesn't have to be concrete from the beginning. This is a journey, and you can dip your toe in, and you know, Lucy, similar story in that lots of travel in between teacher training and just the flexibility to live all over the world. Okay, Hasna says, I'm currently in the UAE. I don't have a bachelor's degree. I have a diploma in Montessori and early childhood education. Currently working as a teacher here, and I'm looking forward to setting my career as an online teaching or traveling abroad and teaching. Planning to do the 180-hour course. Will that be enough? What is it that I have to do after the course? Is there really any chance to migrate using this certification? Lucy, do you want to take that question? So Hasma's in the UAE and teaching already, has teaching experience, has a diploma in Montessori, and is asking if they do the 180-hour course, are there really opportunities for them out there in the world?
Yes, so from what I've heard in the Middle East, for example, UAE, then the level 5, so in this case, that would be the 180-hour course, would be what places require. You know, the 120-hour will take you to many different parts of the world, but some parts of the world, like in the Middle East, will require the level 5. And that should be enough to get you into you know, to get you into teaching positions there. I haven't actually taught in the Middle East myself, but that's from what I've heard from reliable sources.
Yeah, that's it. And I think Hasma wants the chance to teach online and abroad. So the 120 hours is the minimum for that, and so you're already over and above if you go to the level 5. Okay, question here from Bobby. Has anybody moved to South America with pets? And if so, did you have any issues?
I haven't, I'm afraid.
No. Bobby, we actually have an article on our website that says, can I TEFL with my pet? So if you go on the Premier TEFL website and go into the blog, it gives you broad strokes of all the different things that you need to consider for different parts of the world. You're most certainly looking at a quarantine of some description. And I think a lot of it usually comes down to price, but not impossible. And again, what you want then is the ability to have your own accommodation. So typically if accommodation is provided or arranged for you, there might not be the flexibility to bring a pet there. So maybe a job where you have the flexibility to pick your accommodation and work closely then with the organizations. There's usually agents for traveling pets. Okay, Abbott says, I'm a Canadian with a Bachelor of Education. I'm interested in teaching in South America in my 40s. Is it possible to work legally if I arrive first, then look for a job in the country? I don't apply for a work visa beforehand. Particularly interested in Ecuador, Costa Rica, Chile and Peru. So Lucy, I might come back to you on that. Did you have, or if you want me to spin it around, that's okay. But did you have a work visa when you arrived in Ecuador, or did you arrive on a tourist and then convert?
Personally, I'd been advised by the school I'd applied to beforehand to go to the embassy in London and get the visa beforehand. And then I think it was a certain number of weeks after I arrived that I'd go to the to either the embassy or the consulate in Guayaquil and get another kind of stamp for something. However, I did have one or two colleagues who arrived on the tourist visa, and then the school sorted them out with, or at least helped them arrange their visas. So it is possible from what I've heard from others' experience.
And certainly for our partners in Argentina, typically people would arrive on a tourist visa and convert. And Alejandro, for you guys, for people who arrive with your program, are they arriving on tourist visa, or do you organize a different type of visa prior to arrival? You're on mute there.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So in fact, they have both options. They can apply for a visa from their own country or from the basement, or once they are here, they can apply for a visa.
Yeah.
Our government lets people to apply for a visa once they are inside the country. I mean, they can apply for a visa with the tourist permission.
Yeah, and I think typically, certainly in South America, it's not that difficult to do what's called a visa run, where you might leave, cross a border, and then re-enter again to activate a new visa. We do that with a number of our programs, where people it might offer greater flexibility to arrive on your tourist visa and then convert when you get there. Okay. Yep. Maria says, when doing the level 5 course, what can you do with that qualification? Can you start teaching with a 180-hour course, level 5? Yes, absolutely, Maria. It's the same academic level as a CELTA course. It's a English government regulated. You can see our listing on the Ofqual register. So it's actually a step above the minimum required for anybody to get hired in TEFL. The very minimum is the 120-hour course, which we call our fast track course, because it can be completed in 3 or 4 weeks. The 180-hour course is a bit more of a challenge. It's a deeper learning experience. And the payoff of that is that you get a higher level teaching qualification. Okay, Irene says, are the online opportunities as much as those of traveling? Do opportunities accommodate moving with kids? I'm from Kenya with a 2-year-old. I'm passionate about teaching. What are the opportunities available in my case? So, I mean, what I'd say there is, yes, the online opportunities are as plentiful as there are for traveling. And so there's a few different options. You can teach online from home. You can teach online while traveling, and then you can teach abroad in a typical bricks and mortar school. Depending on the country and depending on either the cost of living or how much English teachers get paid in a certain country will dictate whether you can then support a family on that. So some countries around the world pay very high salaries, or maybe they're tax-free salaries. And so you can certainly support a family, and that might include childcare, full-time, depending on whether you're teaching 20-25 hours per week or whether you're going to travel with a partner. So there's lots of different things to consider there. Yes, essentially TEFL can be a source if you're providing for a family, but not in every country around the world is what I'd say there. And again, I think I have an article on the website there about traveling with kids. So TEFL with kids. So if you have a look on there, we've definitely covered that in the last couple of years. Okay, how easy, Abba's back saying, how easy is it to get a job when applying in country? How to approach schools whilst I'm there? So look, if I go to you on that, because you've had experience of knocking on doors.
Yes, so I think finding the schools initially is the hard part. It depends what time of year you're in the country. Are you there for peak hiring season or off season? And then you need to have a copy of your CV updated and ready to give in. I actually had to translate mine into Spanish in a couple of cases, but generally not. And normally you interview on site in the school, and you start quite quickly afterwards if you're accepted for the job. So the challenge is finding the schools, and to get around that, it's a mixture of relying on local contacts or speaking to people on the ground, maybe looking at websites, seeing what's being advertised. In the bigger cities, it's quite easy. You will find schools quite easily. It's when you go to more rural areas, but that would generally be the procedure if you're applying on the ground.
Thanks, Luke. And I know you have to go now, so if you want to duck out, that's no problem at all. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and nice to see everyone.
Bye, Luke.
Luke.
See you again.
Take care. Nice to meet you.
Okay, I'm going to run through the rest of these questions now, and then we are out of time, I'm afraid, for today's session. So I'll run through these questions, we'll get you some answers, and then we will organise another follow-up webinar covering this area in the near future, not too distant. Okay, right. So Sin, you're saying no real difference in getting the certification abroad or in India. Exactly. So instead of trying to apply online on websites that you've mentioned, how responsive are they towards Indians? You're going to have to fight harder. That's the honest answer. If you've got a native English speaking applicant, and then you've got somebody who states Indian passport, typically schools are going to look to the native English speaker first. And unfortunately, that's the nature of the industry. So I say be proactive. I say ring schools. I say try and set up Zoom meetings to have one-to-ones. You need to let people hear your accent. You need to let them hear that you're not just applying for 50 jobs in one day, because the TEFL industry can be quite fickle, and often, you know, you could send your CV off to 20 jobs because it's a contract-based industry, and so schools are always hiring. But then when the school contacts you back, you need to be able to remember exactly who they are, what was that job you applied for, because otherwise they'll know that you're not serious about them. So just be more focused and be more proactive, and that is the top tips I have for you. Or else the other option is to start and go freelance on your own, develop your own niche, which is a whole other webinar in itself. But think about what experiences you have from your past career. Think about what English language teaching you can do as a speciality. Think about helping advanced English learners perfect their pronunciation, as opposed to working down with the general English lessons or the teaching young learners. So go niche, go to the top end of the scale. It will help you get paid a higher hourly rate, and then it will also make you stand out from the crowd. Okay, do you offer placement opportunities? And is there a fee for that? Irene, yes, we have packaged together internships that include TEFL training, plus all the support, plus teaching placements abroad. They're on the website under the internships banner. If you'd like to have a chat, Aveen in our office is a specialist, and she'll help either figure out whether an internship is for you or whether a straight job is for you, and help you work out how to get that. How safe is it to do visa runs and working on a tourist visa? We wouldn't suggest that you work on a tourist visa, but crossing a border to activate a new visa is very safe and not an unusual thing to do. How easily is it done? It's typically done hand in hand with your employer also. So guys, that's me at the bottom of the questions run now. I promised our guests that I would hold them for 45 minutes, and so I am gonna thank them very much for their time. I'm gonna finish up for today. We've recorded this session and we will put it on YouTube, and we will email it to you in the next 2 or 3 days, so you can watch it back if there's anything that you might have missed. Please feel free to contact us at info@Premier TEFL with any questions, and we will get back to you as quickly as possible with any of those. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks to Arturo, to Lucy, Alejandro. Thanks to all you guys at home. I really appreciate it. I hope you've learned some good stuff, and we will see you in our next session. Thank you so much.